All right, so how are y'all doing today? How's everybody doing? No, wait, that didn't sound loud enough. I said, how's everybody doing? We're gonna try that one more time. Say it with your chest this time. How's everybody doing? All right, that's a lot better. That's a lot better. All right, so again, y'all, my name is David Turner. To let you know a little bit about me, right? I'm a third year PhD student at UC Berkeley. 25 years old. Originally from Inglewood, California. Did a lot of work in Los Angeles area, did work in the Bay Area, right? Did work in Philadelphia. But yeah, enough about me, right? Real quick, let's do a little activity. I want to do something that's a little outside the norm for TED Talks, right? But for those who are able, I'm going to ask you a question, and when you answer this question, you can either stay seated or you stand up. That sound cool? Yeah. All right. So, real quick, if you have an opinion about the presidential election, I don't want to know who you're voting for. I'm not excited about it at all, I'll tell you right now. But if you have an opinion about it, please stand up. All right, cool. You may be seated. Okay. A lot of y'all have a lot of feelings. I like that. All right. So, next. If you have ever had an idea about how your school should run, stand up. Okay, I like that. Okay, go ahead and sit back down. Okay. A lot of people have a lot of opinions. I appreciate that. All right, now, for my final question. If any adult has ever asked you how something should run, and then they actually did what you told them, please stand up. Okay. All right, you may be seated. You may be seated. All right. So some of y'all might be asking, why would he start off a talk by making us stand up and do random stuff, right? While everybody has ideas about how things should work, right? There are certain people who have access to actually trying to change them, right? That final question, everybody didn't stand up. Everybody had an idea about how the school should run. Everybody had an opinion about the presidential election, but you can't vote until you're 18, right? Even though it's gonna have a direct material impact on your life, you can't engage it. Tell y'all a brief little story. So, I did my undergrad, which is my BA, right, at a state school in the LA area, school called Cal State Dominguez Hills, right? And there, one of my roommates, he did a lot of research on black males, right? So people like me, like black guys, right? And in his research, what he found was that a lot of times when adults, right, when they're talking about young black people, They do all the talking and they never ask young black people what they want. Some of y'all are laughing and it's like, yeah, but it's true, right? Give you an example. There's this really, really, really old, pretty corny video on YouTube about this young black man going through life. It talks about him graduating from high school and, you know, whether or not he will or will not graduate from high school. It shows him going to prison. It shows him literally, like what I say, falling out the sky, y'all. Like this guy is falling off of a building and into the hood. And when I say the hood, I'm not talking about like, you know, just a regular neighborhood. Like I'm sure some of y'all may listen to Future, like the Trap, you know. It's pretty bad. It's bad, right? And all this time that this is happening, the entire time that, you know, this young person is going all through life, right? Not a single person who's announcing the video, and they have a lot of celebrities in the video, right? So they have people like Ice Cube and, you know, Spike Lee and, you know, a lot of really older black guys, but the entire time, not once does this figure speak. Not a single time. Not once does this figure exhibit their own agency. I find that to be a problem. Deeply problematic, right? Another time, my wife and I, who's in the building, right? Y'all clap it up for my wife. She's wonderful. My wife and I and one of our friends, in July of 2013, some of y'all may remember that was the time when we all found out the verdict in the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case. And that's when George Zimmerman was acquitted for the murder of Trayvon Martin. So we went down to a place called Lamert Park, which is sort of the black epicenter in Los Angeles, right? We went there to go be with the people, right? To go march with the people, to go be with the people. I mean, we're also organizers and activists in our own right? And we didn't want to organize anything. We just wanted to go be a part of something, right? And we get there, and you have so many different people with bullhorns, so many different people with their own agenda. They're passing out flyers, right? You know, you have different chants, right, going on, right? Some people are yelling, you know, Black Power. Other people, you know, they're yelling, no justice, no peace. And, you know, some people are cussing, no justice, F peace. I mean, oh, okay. I wasn't ready for all that, you know. It was 2 on a Sunday. I mean, it's a bit much, right? However, right, we see young people all through the crowd. When I say young people, I don't just mean, right, you know, people under 40. I mean, from what I was told, you all are freshmen, right? So people your age, 14, 15 years old, right? People who are there, who are in the crowd, and who also want to get a chance to, you know, to voice their concerns. So my wife and I, we're walking next to these 3 girls, right? One is 11, one is about 12, 13, and the other one is the oldest sibling. She's about 15, right? And we asked them, well, what are you doing here? Like, not in a sense like you shouldn't be here, but like, what brought you out? And they said at that moment that, well, if we don't come out here and fight, if we don't come out here and fight for ourselves, then nobody's gonna fight for us. And again, all these people on bullhorns, all of these people with their own agendas are marginalizing the very people that they're there to advocate for. What happens in our society, right, is that we paint young people, particularly young people who are at the margins, as amoral, apolitical, as deviant. They need intervention. There's something wrong with them. We need to put them in some type of program. We need to lock them up. We need to dispose of them. There are certain people who are deemed disposable, right? And the problem with this idea is that if you dispose of somebody, you never realize their potential. You never realize what they can achieve. Tell you a little bit more about myself. For example, I went to 15 different high schools before I got my high school diploma. Not high schools, but schools. So I went to every single type of school that you could possibly imagine. I went to private school. I went to, schools that would be considered quote unquote urban, right? I went to schools in the suburbs like this, right? I went to every type of school. And what I noticed was that schools that didn't have white people in them didn't have the same resources. They didn't have the same type of access. We didn't get field trips to certain colleges. We didn't get certain things, right? And it sent a message. Again, I was like 17 at the time. I couldn't put words to it. But what it was saying was that people who look like me weren't worth the investment. And again, I'm 25, y'all. This isn't long ago, right? This is 10 years ago now, right? And these are still happening today. So what I'm here and the message that I want to convey, right, is that we need to be investing time, energy, and resources into those that are on the margins. To give you an example of what this looks like, raise your hand if you heard of Michael Brown. Fair number of people, right? So you know that Michael Brown was in Ferguson, Missouri, right? His school didn't have the best resources or resources at all, right? Neither did his town, which is Ferguson, Missouri, which is a smaller sort of outskirt city to St. Louis, right? What ends up happening in this city after his death, right, is the absolute longest demonstration of black resistance since the Montgomery bus boycott. In that small town that nobody's ever heard of, Ferguson, Missouri. Raise your hand if you heard of Ferguson, Missouri before 2014. Exactly, right? No one's ever heard of this town. But after that incident, those people, the ones who were on the margins, stood up. They stood up and they fought against that injustice. And because of that, they sparked an international movement. These are people, right, who were working at furniture stores or, young folks who were skipping school, right, to go out to marches. These are young folks, right, all of them, the main people who were organizing were all under 30. All of them. We have this idea in our head about who can lead, about who can be a civil rights leader, about who can fight for justice. And when you close your eyes, it typically looks like some brother in a suit with cut hair. That's what it always ends up looking like, but that's not what it was. It was young, queer, black women out there who were on a different part of the sexuality spectrum who were out there fighting. It was those guys with the sagging pants and the tattoos, right? Who people have an immediate visceral reaction when they see. It was them that was out there fighting. Again, the people on the margins, the ones that nobody advocates for, they were the ones that were out there fighting. They were the ones who pushed the the Department of Justice to enact a federal investigation, right, that then led to the indictment and then the dismantling of the Ferguson Police Department because they exhibited racial targeting towards black people. It was because of their resistance. People who are your age in this room, it was because of them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and preach at you forever because I know I have a time limit, right? But what I want you to take away from this are two major points. The first major point is that we have to invest in those who are considered undesired. Those who are considered undesirable. We have to invest in them. Because there lies a potential that can transform a society. And there lies a potential that can transform, right, the ways in which we think about things. I'm not sure if any of you have been to a college campus before, but I know definitely for me, when you walk into a building, there's a button that has the handicap sticker on it, or that has the handicap stamp on it. You can push that button and the door's open for you. Right? If it wasn't for the activism and the organizing of folks who are differently abled, that button wouldn't exist. Everybody benefits from that button, but the button is for someone else. If we don't look at folks on the margins, if we don't think about them, right, then that button doesn't exist, and then they can't physically get into the building, even though we also benefit from it. But again, if we're not looking at those things, if we're not thinking about that, if we're not working with the folks who are quote unquote undesirable, then we end up missing a lot. And finally, invest in your voice. Your voice matters. What you have to say matters. Your agency matters. You matter. It's up to you, right, to fundamentally transform our society, but we can't do that if we're not investing in everyone. We can't do that if we're not investing our time, our energy, and our resources. But we have to do that collectively, and we have to do that together. And agency is critical in this, okay? So we're gonna close with a chant. Can y'all repeat after me? Sound cool? Ain't no power like the power of the youth, because the power of the youth don't stop. Y'all got that? No? We'll go slow. We'll go slow. Ain't no power like the power of the youth, because the power of the youth don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the youth, because the power of the youth don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the youth, because the power of the youth don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the youth, because the power of the youth don't stop. Say what? Faster. Ain't no power. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the youth, because the power of the youth don't stop. All right, y'all. So that's it for my time. Thank you for having me.